receive college. Today, calculator paper. We are doing this milestone in order to see what progress you've made since September and to make sure that you're on the right tracks. And if there's anything that we can do to support your learning, we can use these results to justify decisions and support you where we need to. Okay, so hopefully that explains why we're doing some milestone 2 revision today and why milestone 2 is important for us as teachers, but also for you as students to be working through. We are going to be looking at a selection of things today. So pen, paper, and a calculator, as you can see, will be very helpful. We're going to do a Super 6 starter, which will be a selection of 6 questions. Then we're going to be looking at percentages, fractions of an amount, and angles. Now, the reason why I focused on those 3 topics in particular today is because they're quite common and they will appear on not only the milestone 2 papers, but in your future exams as well. So it's really good that we're very confident and happy with these 3 topics. And then the selection of exam questions at the end of the paper or at the end of this lesson, they will be random and it just keeps you on your toes. Okay, so what you'll have to do today throughout this lesson is pause the video at certain points, and this will allow you to answer the questions on the screen. And then when you have answered them and you're happy with your selection of answers, you can press play and you can watch me work through them and you can check if your answers match up to mine. Okay, so what I would like you to do is pause the screen here. When you've answered these first 3 questions, unpause and then watch the video a little bit further and then pause again. But hopefully with this video it makes sense and you guys understand what we're working towards. So guys, pause the video here. Okay, hopefully you've answered those 3 questions. Now, if you haven't, pause the video again, get those answers, because now I'm going to look at questions 4 and 5. So they're questions 4 and 5. So if you would like to pause the video again, please do so. Once you've answered questions 4 and 5, you can now answer the final question, which is question 6. So once again, pause the video. Okay, hopefully now you've answered the first 6 starter questions, and in doing so you've had a variety of a few different topics, so some ratio, some angles, some speed, distance, time, some algebra, negative numbers, and then once again a bit more ratio. So hopefully you're looking pretty confident and you're quite happy with your answers, but this is where I do my job now and I teach and explain how I would answer these questions in an exam setting. So the first question, we have to expand and factorize. Now, this is based off of last week's lesson where we expanded and factorized. And expand, that means remove the brackets. Okay, we need to multiply them away. Now, I focus and I draw my arrows to allow me to understand what I need to do. So my first arrow involves the outside of the bracket timesing the term on the inside. So I'm going to focus on the numbers first. We're a maths lesson, so let's focus on the numbers. 6 times 3 gives me 18. And you'll notice, guys, I'm multiplying, okay? You have to multiply. So 6 times 3 gives me 18. X times X gives me X squared, because anything times by itself is squared. So X times X gives me X squared. Now, we've done that one. We can now focus on the second part of the bracket. So we're going to take the outside and multiply it by what's on the inside. So once again, 6 times 2. I'm going to focus on the numbers. 6 times 2 is 12, which is a positive number. It's greater than 0, so it's a positive, plus 12. Now, we can't forget about the x on the outside, which gives me 12x. So 18x squared plus 12x, that has been expanded successfully. Okay? Now, factorize is, in fact, the opposite of expand. So if we expand, we're removing brackets. When we factorize, we're putting brackets back in. So if I say we're putting brackets back in, you best believe we better put brackets into our answer line, okay? Now, I have to ask myself a question. What is the biggest number that goes into both 24 and 30? This is where we are fully factorizing. If we are doing it fully, we need the biggest number that goes into both 24 and 30 on the outside of the bracket. Now, hopefully, we are thinking 6 as the biggest number. So 6 on the outside. Now I have to look at both of these terms again, 24x squared and 30x. And I need to look for something else that goes into both. Now, number, yeah, 6 goes into both 24 and 30, but there's also an x. So I'm going to put an x on the outside as well. So the outside of the bracket is secure, it's sorted. We can now focus on what goes on the inside of the bracket. So now I have to ask myself, how do I get from 6, okay, up to 24? What do I have to multiply it by? And I have to multiply it by 4, okay? So the 24 is now sorted. Now I have to ask myself, how do I get from x to x squared? Well, I have to times it by itself. I have to times it by another x. Because remember, x times x will give me x squared. So that's that bit done. I can now focus on this little bit here. So how do I get from 6 up to 30? I have to times it by 5. Now, the x here, can we see we've got 30x? Well, we've already got an x on the outside, so 6x times 5 does give me 30x. I don't need to put in another x inside of the bracket because then I would get another x squared, which I do not need and I do not want. So the 5 there is fine. Now, the last little bit, we have a little plus symbol on our answer line there, so we put a plus inside the bracket as well. And that is my fully factorized answer. 6x, open brackets, 4x plus 5. Now, if you're unsure on that, don't worry, we'll focus on these again in the future, and there's plenty of century assignments and topics and nuggets that will look at that and support you in your studies with that one as well. Right, moving on to question number 2. 10 plus minus 4 equals, what is the answer? Now, I'm going to try and show off my artistic skills here. Here we go. I've got a drink. It's my drink. Okay, it's a nice hot drink of something, okay? There we go, there's my steam lines coming out. There we go. Right, let's imagine this drink is 10 degrees, okay? Now, I'm gonna add minus 4, okay? So imagine I've got minus 4 that I'm adding in, okay? Look, there's my little add symbol, I'm adding it in. What's gonna happen to that drink? What's gonna happen to the temperature of that drink? Is it gonna go up or is it gonna go down if we're adding in cold? Like minus 4, that's, it's cold. So it's going to go down in temperature. It's going to go down by 4. So essentially what we need to do is do 10 and then minus the 4, because that's what it's going to go down by. It's going to go down by 4, which is going to leave me with 6. So my answer, using my hot drink analogy, is 6. Now, some of you may be thinking, what on earth is going on with these brackets? The brackets, don't worry too much. That's just basically saying we are dealing with a minus 4, okay? Yeah, 10 plus a negative will take it down, okay? But yeah, hopefully you guys appreciate my little drawing there. It's not the best, but hopefully it proves a point. Question number 3. Now, I really like ratio, and I've got a specific, and my students will know this, this is a bar method question, okay? Jess, Charlie, and David share their tips in the ratio 2 to 3 to 5. David receives £60. How much does Jess get? Right, there's a lot going on here. Let's start with the bar. Now, the bar is my go-to method because it makes ratio very visual. And when it's visual, it's easier for me to see and easier for me to work through. So I've drawn my bar. Now I need to split the bar up into the ratio that we've been given, which is 2, 3, 5. So altogether, how many parts is that? Well, 2 add 3 add 5 is 10. So 10 parts. So I'm going to do that now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, there's my 2, there's 3, and then there's my 5. Now, the next thing I'm going to encourage you guys to do is label the bar so we know who's who. So it says Jess, Charlie, David. So it goes in that order. Jess, Charlie, David. J, C, D. Now, David receives £60. So next to the D, next to David, I'm going to put in brackets 60 quid. Just so I know exactly who that belongs to. Now, the aim of the game is to work out what goes into each of these boxes, okay? Because when we know what goes into one box, we know what goes into all of them. So what I need to do, I accidentally deleted the bar. Right, let's fix this. Come on, Sam, use your skills. There we go. Look at that, you would never know, okay? Right, the bar is back, we're back. Right, I need to do £60. I need to divide it between all the bars that represent, or all the parts that represent David, okay? So that is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need to do 60 divided by 5, which gives me £12. So each part of the ratio is worth £12 in terms of money. And what goes in one box goes in all of them. Okay. There we go. So there are my 12s in every box. Now the question says quite specifically, how much does Jess get? So let me highlight Jess here just to make it stand out. Here is Jess. She has 2 lots of 12. Now 2 lots of 12, quick maths, is £24. So Jess, on the basis of splitting the ratio, okay, sharing the amounts, receives £24. Now, it may ask why. Maybe because Jess has worked fewer shifts that week. It may be because she's, I don't know, maybe she just worked less, so she doesn't get as much. But hey, I would not say no to £24 if possible. Right, £24 is the answer. So hopefully the bar method explains that quite nicely. Now, this next question I quite like, because it involves a little bit of algebra, a little bit of angles. Okay, it says here, calculate the size of angle X. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight a line, this line here. That line. Okay, now that is a straight line. And now I know angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Okay, 180 degrees. Now I can see here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 x's. So I know those 6 x's, when they're put together, equal 180. So what I've actually done here, I've created an equation. Now what I need to do is actually solve that equation. So I'm going to put it up here. 6x equals 180. Now, if I can solve that and get x by itself, it's actually going to tell me the size of the angle. So how do we go about doing this? We need to work backwards, do the opposite. Okay, so 6x, that means x is being times by 6. Now to get x by itself, I need to do the opposite. So if x is being times by 6, I now need to divide by 6 to both sides, because a bit like a seesaw, whatever you do on one side, you have to do to the other to keep it fair, to keep it balanced. Now I've divided by 6, I can write this up. So are you ready? 6x divided by 6, that's going to leave x by itself. 180 divided by 6 gives me 30 degrees. X equals 30. So I can put my answer over here, 30 degrees. And I'm in the habit of doing this. I'm going to continue. I'm going to highlight it just so you guys can see it quite clearly. 30 degrees, guys, okay? Lovely stuff. 30 degrees. So there we go. Solving an equation that we've made ourselves by looking at the information provided. Okay, but hopefully that didn't catch too many of you out and you've arrived at 30 degrees. Question 5, I quite like this question. A car travelled 360 kilometres in 4.5 hours. What was its average speed? Good question, Sam. I know, it is a good question. Now, there's a specific triangle, okay? Specific triangle I'm going to draw on the screen that's going to help me with this question. It's called the speed, distance, time triangle. Some of you may remember this. If not, I'm going to help you remember a way to write it. So speed, distance, time. Now, it's crucial we get those letters in the right place. Now, my name's Sam, and I always remember it as Sam drinks tango. Sam drinks tango. And if it's the weekend, Sam drinks tequila. Joking. Okay, but Sam drinks tango. That's a nice way to remember it for me. Now, if you've got your own way or your own special way, then that's fine, but you need to remember those letters in that right order. Now, we want to work out speed. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to just highlight speed here. So that's what I want to work out. So I need to do distance divided by time. That's going to tell me what the speed is. So distance divided by time equals speed. Okay, now another way you could do it, in an exam, I'll put my hand over the letter S to cover it up, but obviously I can't do that because you can't see my screen like that. But anyway, distance divided by time. So the distance is 360 kilometers. Now this is the crucial bit, right? I want you guys to have good notes today, so I'm going to just fix that 0 for you guys. Divided by time. Now this is the crucial bit. 4.5 hours. Now we need to convert 4.5 hours into, a whole number and a decimal. Because we can't put 4.5, we can't type that into a calculator, 4.5. But what we could do is convert it into a decimal. So 4 is a definite, 4 is what we need to. Now we've got half an hour. Now we could write that as a fraction as half. Now, hopefully, when you guys think of a half, you can convert that into a decimal quite nicely, which is 0.5. So when I'm dealing with 4.5 hours, it's actually 4.5 hours, okay? So now I've got a number that I can type into a calculator. I can do it quite nicely. I can do 360 divided by 4.5. So 360 divided by 4.5 gives me 80. Okay, so we're dealing with kilometers and hours, so it'll be 80 kilometers per hour. Okay, now I know typically in England we use miles per hour. However, if you travel abroad to Europe or other countries, kilometers are their go-to. On road signs, most things are in kilometers. So you may have to be aware sometimes that you're not breaking the speed limit, so you've got to be aware of that. Okay, but anyway, 80 kilometers an hour. And that brings us on to question number 6 of the Super 6. Another ratio question. I do like ratio. In pets at home, they have reptiles, fish, and rodents in the ratio 4 to 12 to 5. What fraction of the pets are rodents? Now, it goes reptiles, fish, and rodents. So let me just write this out again. 4, 12, and 5. That's crucial, yeah? Make sure I've got that written correctly. Now it goes reptiles. So I'm going to put rep for reptiles, fish in the middle, and then rodents at the end. I'm going to put rod for rodents. Now, when we're writing a fraction, we need a bottom number, okay, a denominator, and then we need a top number, a numerator. So we need to get that set. Now, the bottom number is the total of the parts. I've got 4, add 12, add 5. If we add that together, we get 21. That gives me my bottom number of the fraction. Now this bit, quite important, because if we get the top number wrong, we've lost the mark and we don't want that. We want to get this right. So ask for rodents, which is this number here, my 5. So on the top of my fraction, it'll be 5. So my final answer would be 5 over 21. Okay, and I'll just circle that there for you guys to see. So take all the parts, put them together to give you your base number, and then the fraction, the specific data that it needs, whether it be rodents or fish or reptiles, we put that as the top number to give us our fraction. Okay, guys, well done. I'm not sure, obviously you guys are doing this independently, but hopefully you've arrived at some correct answers. Now, if you didn't arrive at any correct answers, don't worry, don't beat yourself up. You know, watch the video, make sure you're happy with how I got there, and then see if you can replicate that in the future. Okay? Now, another period where I would like you guys to have a go in activity, pause the screen, try and match these formula up to the statement. So whether, you know, how do you calculate the area of a triangle? Match them up. So you went on your piece of paper, do your list on the left, do your list on the right, and give these a go. In a moment or two, I will go through these and we'll show you and match them up together. Okay, I will change the colour of my pen as you pause the video, and I'll catch you guys in a moment. Okay, hopefully you did pause the video. If not, that's fine. We're going to work through this together now and see if your answers are looking good. Right, let's start at the top. Area of a triangle. So in order to calculate the area of a triangle, we need to do base times height, and we need to divide it by 2. Okay, base times height divided by 2. Now, the base of a triangle is often given. The height is the actual height. So not the slanted height, we need the actual height. And then once you've times them together, you divide that by 2 to give the area. Now, area of a circle. Now, it's quite interesting we're doing this lesson, or doing this at the moment, because in your face-to-face lesson this week, you will be doing area of a circle and the circumference of a circle. So hopefully, if you've had your lesson, you know what it is. If you haven't, then you'll be learning that this week. Area circle is pi times radius squared, okay? Pi times the radius squared. Area of a parallelogram. So area of a parallelogram, I'll do a little sketch up here. A parallelogram has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Okay, sides means that both sides will never meet the right train tracks, okay? So a parallelogram, 2 sides or 2 pairs of sides that will never meet. And in order to calculate the area of a parallelogram, we need to do base times by perpendicular height, okay? Now, by perpendicular height, I mean actual height. So once again, not the slanted height, the actual height, okay? Volume of a cuboid. Now, volume of a cuboid is a 3D shape. It's got 3 dimensions. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a clue as what it will be. It's this one here, base times height times depth. Now, once again, I'll do a little sketch of a cuboid. I used to do these all the time when I used to do graphics at high school. There we go, there's my 3D shape. So the base, the height, and then the depth is how far back it goes. But if you multiply those 3 numbers together, you then calculate the volume, which is the space inside of that 3D shape, okay? Then by process of elimination, we've got the circumference of a circle. Now the circumference of a circle is calculated by doing pi times the diameter. Now, some of you may have been thrown off by this. I'm not sure why it says A, it should say C. Circumference equals pi times diameter. Okay, but like I said, you're going to be covering that in your face-to-face lesson this week, so that should look familiar and you should have practice by this. Okay, right, I'll leave that there just in case you guys quickly want to make some notes and can match that up. That's absolutely fine, but we are going to focus on the 3 main topics shortly. Now these 3 main topics are percentages, fractions of an amount, angles. Like I say, they come up in a host of different selections and questions and, you know, different things like that. We need to be comfortable with these. We need to be happy. We need to be like this little guy in the corner, okay? Hey! When a question comes up and we know how to answer it, that's what you want to be. You want to have that sort of intrinsic feeling, okay? Now, hopefully, after this session, you have a bit more confidence. And that's all I'm going to try and do today, try and improve your confidence so you're happier when a question like some of these may pop up in an exam. Now, percentages of an amount. We're going to focus today on doing percentages without calculator. So how we break it down to work out the answer, okay? Now, I'm going to use this working out space and I might use different colours for the different questions. I think that might be a nice way to do it. Otherwise, the slide might get a bit congested. Right, 15% of £4,200. Step 1, and I encourage all my students to do this, find out 10%. Because when we know what 10% is, it allows us to then work out other percentages quite nicely that fit together. And then when you calculate 10%, you're dividing by 10. So I'm going to do that in the top left corner here, 4,200 divided by 10. Essentially removing the decimal point from the end of the number 1 place in. So it gives me 420. 420 is 10% of 4,200. Now, I don't want 10%. I want 15%. So I'm missing a 5% chunk. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to work out 5% now. Now, if I know what 10% is, in order to work out 5%, it's not actually too bad. I just need to half my 420, half my 10% value. I need to divide by 2. 420 divided by 2 is 210. Okay, so now I have a 10% block, or a 10% chunk and a 5% chunk. Okay, what I can do now is add them together to give me my 15%. So I put a little add symbol in just to show what we're doing. So 15%, 0 add 0 is 0, 2 add 1 is 3, 4 add 2 is 630. There we go. 630 is 15% of 4,200. Happy days. Okay, give myself a tick. I'm quite confident and giving myself a tick. Right, question 2. 21% of £825. So once again, let's do our building blocks. Okay, so let's start with 10%. Once again, move the decimal, we're divided by 10. We're going to move the decimal point 1 place across. So you ready? Bada bing, bada boom. So £82.50. It's money, so I'm going to put pound symbol in. £82.50p. Now, I don't want 10%, I want 20%. So do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to times it by 2. Okay, so it gives me my 20% value. Now, I do believe we are allowed to use calculators for this online lesson, so I'm going to be a bit cheeky and use a calculator, but you guys are happy to do that as well. It's going to give me £165. £165 for 20%. Now, I've got my 20%. I want 1% now, because if I get my 20% and my 1%, put them together, I've got my final answer, okay? So how do I work out 1%? Now, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can take your 10% value and divide it by 10 to give you 1%, or another way you can do it is divide the original number by 100 to get 1%. So let's take the original number by 100 and do it that way. So 825. When we divide by 100, we're moving the decimal point 2 places now. For the 2 zeros, 2 jumps. 1, 2. That gives me £8 and 25p. £8.25. Now I'm going to highlight these two numbers because these are the two numbers I need to put together. My 20% value and my 1% value. Okay? So if we add those two values together, I then get my 21%. So 165 add £8.25 gives me £173.25. Ta-da! Done. Let me just highlight that as well, just so we can see. I'll put a little cloud around it. There we go. And I'll put a little cloud around this one as well, so we know my answers. Okay. So far, so good. I'm quite happy with this. I'm taking my percentages, working them out nicely, chunking them down, and arriving at the right answer. Now what I need to do, move on to the third and final percentage question. So calculate 120% of £825. So it's the same number as before. So quite lazy this actually. I can do my 10% quite easily because it's already there. But just to reinforce it, we're moving the decimal point 1 place across for 10%. So £82.50. £82.50. Okay. Now I want 120%. So we'll get onto the 100% in a minute, but I want the 20%. Okay. So I'm going to times it by 2, which we've done previously, gives me £165. Now I'm going to teach you a little bit now about what 100% of a number is. Okay. There we go. So 100% is the original number. Okay. So if I've got a value that is currently at 100%. Okay, so 100% of £825 is 820. It's the same. So I want 120%. I know 100% is the original number. I know what my 20% is. So what do I need to do? I need to add them together. And I'll do what I did before. I'll highlight the two numbers I need to add. So 100% is 825. 20% is 165. So to get the full mark, to find out 120%, what I need to do is add those two values together. So I'm doing that now. Going to give me 990. We can go back to the colour of the pen. £990. Now, yes, that number is bigger than what we started with, but it makes sense because, oops, let me fix this. It makes sense because we want a number that is greater. 120% is bigger than what we should start with. So my answer being 990, absolutely fine. So 100% is the number itself, and then work out your percentage and then add it on. So there we go. They're my 3 different answers, but they're all correct. So I'm quite happy with those. Now, we're going to look at something slightly different now. Percentage increase and percentage decrease. So this is where you take a value and you either add or take away at the end. So it's the exact same principle as what we just did, but we may have to do an addition or a subtraction depending on what the question states. So let's start with increase 4,200 by 20%. So step 1, work out 20% of the value. So 10% is going to give me 420. Remember, all I've done is the decimal point 1 place across for my 10%. Now, I don't want 10%. I want 20%. So what do? I'm going to double it. I'm going to times it by 2, which tells me 20% is 840. Ah, good. Now, the last job. I want to increase my original amount by that 20%. Now, originally, it's not a question. I didn't know what 20% was. But now I do. I know that 20% is 840. So what I need to do, I need to take 4,200 and I need to add, because we're increasing, it's going to get bigger. I need to add 840. So if I add those two values together, I'm using a calculator today, and you guys are more than welcome to do that as well. 5,040 as my final answer. I've increased it, so it's gone up. Happy days. So work out your percentage. Increase it or decrease it depending on what the question states. Now I'm going to do the next one as well. So now you'll notice decrease. So straight away I'm thinking I'm going to have to take it off at the end, but we'll get to that point in a moment. So £700, I want 10% first. So move the decimal point one place across. 10% is 70. Okay. 10% equals 70. Now, 1% moves the decimal point two places across. So 1% is 7. Okay. So I've got a 10% block, I've got a 1% block. However, I want 2%. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my 1% value and I'm going to double it. So 2% equals 14. Now, this is crucial, guys. Don't add up all the numbers, only add up the numbers we need. I want my 10% and my 2% together. So I need to add 17 and 40 to give me my 12%. So let me put a little arrow together with these. 70 at 14 is 84. Okay, so 84, boom. Now it says decrease. So I'm going to take 700, I'm going to take away 84. That's my deduction. I'm decreasing it, it's going to get smaller. 700, take away 84, leaves me with 616. There we go. So guys, exactly the same as what you've been doing previously, what you've just watched me do, but at the end there's just one extra step, whether it be an increase or a decrease, an addition or a subtraction. Okay, right. Ben receives a pay rise. This is the final example before you guys have a practice. It's a worded question. Ben receives a pay rise of 2%. His pay was originally £320 per week. What is his new weekly wage? So what I need to do, guys, I need to work out 2% and then add it on to work out his new wage. That's the percentage increase we're looking for, okay, because he's received a pay rise. It's getting bigger. So let's work out 1% first. Are you ready? So £320, 1%. So I'm moving the decimal point two places across. 1, 2. So 1% is £3.20. Let's write that down. It's a crucial piece of information. £3.20. Okay. I want 2% though, don't I? So I'm going to double this. I'm going to times it by 2. So 2% must be £6.40. Now, crucially, I'm not done. I know my 2% value, which is excellent, but I need to work out his new wage. So what I need to do, I need to take £3 or £320 and add on that new amount. So that's going to go up. So let's just, I'm going to write down what I'm doing here. 320, add £6.40. Okay, so let's just, I'm going to do this without a calculator. Look at me, showing off. £326.40. That is Ben's new weekly wage. Ben's new wage. Okay? So work out your percentage, add it on or subtract depending on the question. Now, you guys need to practice. So what we'll do, once again, I'll go on to the new slides with the questions on, pause it when you've answered it, unpause the video, okay? I'll show you quickly. You guys have 6 questions. So I'll go back onto the original slide. Pause it now. There's a little pause symbol there. Do the deed, pause the video, answer those 3 questions. Off you go. Okay, hopefully that's enough time for you to have paused the video. If not, pause it, do the questions. Now, if you've done it, you've got 3 answers. Now let's look at these next 3 questions. Once again, pause the video, give these questions a go before I review them and go through the answers. What I don't want to do, give out answers too soon and you guys not have a chance to pause the video and answer them yourselves. So give it a go. Okay, hopefully you have paused the video. You've got 6 answers now for the first 3 and the last 3. Now it's my time to do my job again. I'm now going to answer these questions. I'm going to talk through how I've done it, and then hopefully if you've made a mistake, you can spot where the mistake lies and you can correct it. But if you've got 3, answers all correct, happy days, well done. Right, here we go. 15% of 2,800. So I'm going to work out 10%. 10%, 1 decimal place across, so it's going to be 280. And I want 5%. If I want 5%, it's going to be half, isn't it? So I need to half 280, which gives me 140. Then if I want 15%, which is what I'm after, I need to add the values together. So 15% equals, are you ready? 280, add 140, 420. Excellent. So if you've got 420, scribble down on your piece of paper. Good stuff. Now, if you haven't quite got 420, but you've got either 280 or 140 written down, still very encouraging signs. Okay, I'm still happy with that. Next one, 21% of 765. So let's go for a nice shaded blue for this question. Once again, 10%. 10%. So I'm going to divide or move the decimal point one place across. So it becomes 76.5 grams. Okay. Now I don't want 10%. I want 21%. So I'm going to try and get my 20% chunk done. So I'm going to double it, times it by 2. So 20% equals 76.5 times by 2, 153 grams. Okay. Now I need to work out my 1% because I've got my 20%, just need that 1%. So I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places across, which gives me 7.65. So 1% equals 7.65 grams. So what I'm going to do now, highlight the values that I want. So 153 I want, the 7.65 I want, I'm going to add them together. 153 add 7.65 gives me a grand total of, quite a nice number this. Let me just get my pen ready. 160.65 grams. Grams is crucial. Keep the examiner happy. Put that unit in. Yeah, if it's got grams in the question, put grams in your answer. Okay, if it's got pounds, it's got weight, it's anything. Keep the examiner happy. Keep those units of measurement in there. So 420 for question 1, 160.65 grams for question 2. Now let's go for purple for the last question. 130% of 185. So what I need to do is work out 30%, calculate 100% very quickly, and then put those two values together. So 10% is my starting point. Move the decimal point one place across. 18.5. However, you guys are going to say this with me. We don't want 10%. We want 30%. So I need 3 lots of that. So I'm going to times it by 3. 30% therefore equals, calculator ready, 18.5 times by 3 is 55.5. That's a cool number. 55.5. Okay? We don't want 30%, we want 130%. And remember earlier, guys, I've said 100% of a number is the number itself. So 100% is 185. So if I want 130%, I need to put my 100% number with my 30% number and add those two values together. So 185 add 55.5 gives me 240.5. Happy days. Now, well done. If you've arrived at 3 correct answers there, really good, encouraging stuff there. And I'd be happy in an exam, you'd pick up percentage marks quite comfortably. Now, we're going to look now, extending this a little bit, looking at increase, decrease, and then a worded question. So, same principles apply. Work out the percentage, but then add it or subtract it depending on the question. So, increase 7,200 by 15%. Well, stage 1, step 1, find out 10%. The decimal point, one place across. 720 is 10%. Now, I've got 10%. I would like to find out 5% next. So I'm going to divide it by 2. 720 divided by 2 is 360. However, I want 15%. So what am I going to do? I'm going to add those two values together. 720 add 360 is 1,080. Now, crucial, this is a key word, increase. So I'm going to take my original amount, 7,200, and then I'm going to add on 1,080. Okay, so 0 add 0 is 0, 0 add 8 is 8, 2 add 0 is 2, 7 add 1 is 8. 8,280 is my new value, my final answer, the correct answer. Okay, right, change the colour of my pen. Let's move on to question number 2. Decrease 890 by 30%. So you guys know the drill by now. Let's work out 10%. Move the decimal point one place across. Boom, 89. I want 30%, so I want 3 lots of my 10% value. So 3 lots of 89. 3 times 89 is 267. So 30% equals 267. Now, crucial, decrease this time. So it's a deduction, it's going down. So I'm going to do 890, then I'm going to subtract 267. And then let's just, non-calculator purposes, focus on how we will do this on a non-calculator exam. Right, 0 take away 7, I'm going to struggle to do. So I'm going to borrow from the left. The 9 drops down to an 8, and the 1 that I've taken, I'm going to put up here. 10 take away 7 is 3, 8 take away 6 is 2, 8 take away 2 is 6. 623. Perfect. And let me put a little underline under that. There we go. That is my final answer. Now, let's have a look at this question regarding Sarah and her new car. Let's go for the purple colour. Sarah gets a new car. Her car loan of £270 per month was increased by 2%. What is her new monthly car loan amount? Here we go. So, we want to work out 2%. So let's work out 1% first. So we're going to move the decimal point 2 places across. 1, 2. So it's £2.70 for 1%. However, we want 2%. So what I'm going to do, double it. I'm going to times it by 2. So 2% equals, well, £2.70 times by 2 is £5.40p. £5.40. Bada bing, bada boom. £5.40. Now, it says it is increased. So she's going to have to pay more. So I need to take that £5.40 and I need to add it on to what she was originally paying. So 270 needs to be added on to that. Or 270, this needs to be added on. Yeah, you get the gist. We need to add them together. If we do that accurately and correctly, we should arrive at £275.40 is Sarah's new car loan payment each month. Gone up a little bit. Not ideal, but she's going to have to pay those bills in order to keep a new car, okay? So I'm going to just quickly highlight those answers, just so they stand out. But guys, that is percentages roughly in a nutshell. Percentages of an amount, okay? Increase and decrease as well. Now, percentages come up in wonderful and weird, wacky ways. However, we need to be comfortable and confident with the basics in order to progress it onto the more challenging stuff, which we'll look at later in the year. But guys, just practice, honestly. Lots of practice with these sort of questions gives you confidence. And with that confidence, you will then be able to tackle these questions in an exam confidently, happily gaining those marks. Okay, right. We have ticked off revision of percentages, percentage of amount, percentage increase and decrease. We now look at fractions of an amount. Now, do you know what's so nice about fractions of amount? It's actually one of the most simplest sort of things to do with regards to proportion. Okay, there's a golden rule. There's a golden rule, and some of you may already know this, some of you may not know this, okay? I'm going to tell you about this golden rule called, I should really put it in yellow, shouldn't I? But I don't know if it'll stand out very well. I'm going to put it in red because it's serious, this. Divide by the bottom. Divide by the bottom. And then, that's crucial, and then times by the top. Now, that sounds weird at first. So what we'll do some practice questions where you'll be like, no, that's not weird, that's pretty straightforward. Okay, there's the golden rule I'm going to stick by for every question. Are you ready? £78. Find 3/5 of £78. So £78. Divide it by the bottom. So I'm going to divide it by 5. Are you ready? 78 divided by 5 equals £15.60. So technically, 1/5 is £15.60, but I want 3/5. So that's where we times it by 3. That's where we times it by the top number. Okay, so I've divided by the bottom, now I'm going to times by the top. 15.6 or £15.60p times by 3 gives me £46.80. There is my final answer. Let me just highlight the crucial steps. I've divided by the bottom, and then I've times by the top. So I've divided by the bottom, I've got my answer, and then I've times by the top. Okay? Same rules apply all the way through. £44 divided by the bottom. So 44 divided by 8 gives me £5.50p. 5.5, £5.50. Now, I've divided by the bottom, I need to times by the top, times by 3. £5.50 times by 3 is going to give me a lovely answer of £16.50. £16.50. Once again, I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face. Divide by the bottom and then times by the top. Gives you your final answer. There we go. I've got 2 correct answers so far. I'm going to tick them. Boom, boom. Last one. Slightly worded question. John is 7/5 of Michael's age. Michael is 35. How old is John? So don't even, guys, can you see this question here? It's like an improper fraction. The top number is bigger than the bottom number. Doesn't matter. Still the same rule. Divide by the bottom, times by the top. So I'm going to take his age, which is the amount, 35 years old. I'm going to divide it by the bottom number, which is 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7. Now I need to times it by the top number. So I need to do 7 times 7. 7 times 7 gives me 49. So John, my man, is 49 years old. So it doesn't matter, worded question or a top heavy fraction, divide by the bottom and then times by the top. You'll see I've done it in every question. In every question, have I arrived at the right answer? Yes, I have. It works for me, it works for you guys. Okay? Practice questions. So this is for you guys now to pause the screen and answer these 3 questions. Okay? Find 5/8 of £34, find 2/5 of £42, and then a worded question at the end. So once again, this is where I just sit still for about 10 seconds, pause the video for me, come back when you've got 3 answers, and then we'll go through the question. Okay? Okay, hopefully you got 3 answers. Hopefully you got 3 answers, and hopefully you got 3 correct answers. That would make me feel good, make you guys feel good. Now, the golden rule is not in the top corner of the screen. You won't get it in your exam. You need to remember that golden rule. Okay, you need to remember divide by the bottom times by the top. Divide by the bottom times by the top. Divide by the bottom times by the top. Okay, so £34 divided by the bottom value, which is 8. So I need to do 34 divided by 8. That gives me £4.25. £4.25. Once we divided by the bottom, we then times by the top. So I times this value by 5. 425 divided times by 5 is £21 and 25p. Okay. I'm just going to highlight this again. Look, I'm showing you that I'm not just telling you one thing and doing another. I'm doing exactly what I'm telling you guys to do. I'm dividing by the bottom, timesing by the top, and I'm arriving at the right answer. Okay. £21.25, question 1. Question 2. 42 divided by the bottom number, which is 5. 42 divided by 5 equals £8.40. So £8.40. Once we've got that value, we then times it by the top, which is 2. So I'm doubling it. I'm timesing it by 2. 840 times by 2 is £16.80p. £16.80. And once again, I'm just going to highlight it again because I think I'm getting into the routine of this. Divide by the bottom, times by the top. Now, it's crucial to remember it in that order, okay? Divide first, then times. Last question. Sarah has been saving her pocket money. She has saved £72. Her friend Mary has saved 5/3 of this amount. How much has Mary saved? Right. Let's get ready to rumble. So £72 is the amount. So technically what I need to do is work out 5/3 of 72. So yeah, as you can see, guys, I'm essentially just writing the question out in a simpler format, so it makes my life that little bit easier. So we're going to divide by the bottom number, and then we're going to times by the top. 72 divided by 3 equals 24. I think I should have known that anyway. 24. Then we're going to times it by the top number, which is 5. 24 times by 5 equals £120. So poor Sarah, she's like, I've saved 72 quid, buzzing. Her friend Mary's like, that's nothing. Well, I've got £120. How about that? There we go. There's my final answer, 120. So do you know how I mentioned previously? It doesn't matter. If it's a top-heavy fraction, it's still the same rule. Divide by the bottom, times by the top. Okay? Guys, good stuff. Now, there is an exam question here, so if you would like to have a look at this, you can see it's worth 2 marks. So you want to quickly pause the screen, give this one a go, that's absolutely fine. No doubt, if we've just gone through this, like, you know, what, maybe 12 questions we've done, you will nail this. So I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's have a look at this question. Divide by the bottom, times by the top. I mean, like, because I know instant, I'm just writing it on the page just so I know, right? 295 divided by 5. 295 divided by 5 is 59. Once I got 59, I then times by the top number, which is 4. 59 times by 4 gives me 236. Now, this question, these sort of questions could come up on a non-calculator paper. So you need to make sure your bus stop method for division is really good and your method for multiplication is really good, because otherwise those marks could not get them, could be away in the distance. So make sure you're confident with your division skills and you're confident with your multiplication method, okay? Because they are crucial in order for getting the marks for this sort of question on a non-calculator paper, okay? Right, look at that. We're doing well, guys. Look at that, halfway through the checklist. Percentages, fractions done. Now we're left with angles. Angles. Right, model example here. So angle questions, they come up in a weird and wonderful variety of ways. They really do keep you on your toes. So you've got to be prepared for unusual looking shapes, triangles, you know, quadrilaterals, anything. And just so you guys know, a quadrilateral is a 4-sided shape. You know the word quadrille, quad bikes, you know, things like that, 4 sides. Right, let's have a look. Let's read the question. Find the size of angle EFC. So there's E, there's F, there's C. Right, so EFC. So I need to work out this angle, okay? So what I'm going to do, now I know what angle I need, I'm going to get rid of the lines there. There we go. That's the angle I need in this bottom corner. Right. We need to identify what we've got here. I've got an isosceles triangle. Now, I know it's an isosceles because an isosceles has lines like this, where it means these sides are the same length. Now, crucially, now I know that typically the base angles are the same in an isosceles, okay? So I know that this angle there and this angle here are the same. Now, crucially, we also need to know one more thing. Angles inside of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So if I've got 40 degrees up here, if I do 180 and take away 40, I'm left with 140 degrees. Now, because I know those angles at the base are the same, I need to share 140 equally between those two angles. So I need to halve it, I need to divide it by 2. 140 divided by 2 gives me 70 degrees. So I know this angle here is 70 degrees, and I also know this one here is 70 degrees. But it asks for EFC, so I can now confidently say, well, that angle in the bottom right hand corner is 70 degrees. Now, we've got to work out the size of angle Y, this little bugger over here, angle Y. Now, there's a bit of a little thing we have to do here just to get there, but it's not, you guys are all capable of doing this, it's just about seeing it. Now, I mentioned this earlier at the starter about angles on a straight line. Angle, that's a straight line at the bottom. D, E, F, they all sit on a straight line. So I know angles on a straight line, they add up to 180. Okay, so let me change the colour of my pen. Let's go purple. So if I know this one here is 70, then I know I need to add a number to 70 to get 180. And the only number I can add, okay, to 70 to get up to 180 is 100. I'm going to prove it why. I'm going to prove why. 180, take away 70. Okay, that's going to give me 110. 100, whoa, fix that up, Sam. There we go, 110 degrees. Now, do you know earlier I said angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees? Well, it's the same. This is a triangle here. So if I've got 15 degrees there, 110 there, if I take those away from 180, I'm going to be left with angle Y. So let's use this working out space. Let's put it together. So 110, add the 15 in the top, gives me 125. So now if I do 180 and I take away 125, that will leave me with angle Y. So let's do that now. 180, take away 125. Non-calculator, let's do this. So can't do 0 take away 5, so I'm borrowing 1 from the left. So 10 take away 5 is 5, 7 take away 2 is 5, 1 take away 1 is 0, so 55. Y equals 55 degrees. So I couldn't get there instantly. I had to use my knowledge of straight lines in order to help me get there, but I got there in the end, which is the main thing, okay? So, and I'm looking at the screen now, I'm like, geez, there's a lot going on there. So guys, if you're unsure and you were lost at any point, go back a minute or two, start again, watch it again, make notes, pause it if you need to, okay? But make sure you're confident with these sort of things. Angles from a straight line, angles in a triangle, okay? Now, this is another model example, so you guys sit back, relax, I'll go through this one. We have a quadrilateral. Now, I mentioned it briefly. Quadrilateral has 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're the 4 sides. Now, angles inside of a 4-sided shape, they don't add up to 180. They add up to 360 degrees. So I need to work out this angle here to help me work out X. Right, international symbol for 90 degrees is that little square. So I know that's 90. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add up these 3 numbers. I'm going to highlight them. I'm going to add up this number, and this number, and then I'm going to subtract it or take it away from 360 to tell me about this angle in the bottom right. Okay, so 108 add 90 add 125 is 323. So I'm going to subtract that away, 360, take away 323 is 37 degrees. So I know this bit here is 37 degrees. Now, hopefully it's screaming at you this question now saying, I'm a straight line, yeah? Angles on a straight line, we know this now. I've said this a few times, add up to 180. So I need to think of a number, or we'll calculate the number that adds to 37 to get up to 180. So 180, take away 37. What does that give me? Gives me 143 degrees. So X on the outside is 143 degrees. Boom, done. Okay. That's my final answer. Examiner, take it, give me my marks. Let me move on to the next question. So once again, guys, understanding angles inside of a shape, angles on a straight line, angles around a point, things like that really are crucial for these sort of questions. Now, I believe you guys have 2 practice questions to do now. Okay, so I'm going to leave it on this slide for a little bit. I'll let you pause, let you copy it down. Now, this is crucial. Pen and paper, copy it down, annotate your work, make sure you've got it, okay? Then, when you can scribble over the work, it makes it very visual and it allows you to see what you're working towards. But for this question, you calculate in Y, okay? So, pause the video, give it a go, and then in a minute, or in a few seconds, I'll move on to the next question for you to give that a go. Okay, next question. Pause the video again, calculate the answer. Once you've done that, unpause the video, and we'll go through these questions. Okay, back to the first question, and let's see. Now, I'm going to say I think this is more complicated than it looks. I think we're going to have to take our time with a question like this. So what we're going to do, I'll go to red pen for this one, so it stands out a bit better. You need to just work out Y. Now, Y has got nothing around it. So I need to get to Y using my knowledge of angles and rules and, you know, all sorts. So let's have a look. Luckily for me, it says 3 straight lines. So that's going to help me knowing that angles on a straight line need to add up to 180. So I can work out this angle here by doing a 180 take away 151. I want to do that now. 180 take away 151 is 29 degrees. Okay, so I know that's 29 degrees. Now, guys, what happened? Can you guys see the shape? I'm going to try and draw it in red. Well, hopefully you guys can tell me that's a triangle. It's a 3-sided shape. And we've established a triangle. The angles inside of a triangle add up to 180. So if I know we've got 29 degrees here and 93 degrees there, I can work out this angle here. So if I do 29 add 93, I get 122. So if I do 180, take away those, two angles put together, which is 122, I'm going to be left with 58 degrees. So this beautiful angle there is 58. Now, let me highlight this again. We've established the question says 3 straight lines. So this line here is a straight line. So if 58 degrees is on one side of the line, I then can work out the other side, the y. So if I do 180, I take away 58. All right, I think I know where I'm going to land on actually. 180, take away 58, it's going to leave me with 122 degrees. So y is 122 degrees. But can you see, guys, I haven't just jumped there magically. I've taken my time. I use my knowledge of straight lines, use my knowledge of triangle angles to get there again. Do you know what I mean? I've worked my way across there. I've not just flown there and dived in at the deep end. I've used what I know to work my way to angle Y. Okay, 122 degrees is the magic answer. Right. Now, I can't remember how many marks this was worth. Maybe 3, maybe 4. I can't remember specifically. I think it's 4. Let's hope it does. Let's be optimistic. Let's say it's worth 4 marks. BCD is a straight line. So BCD, so the base is a straight line. Triangle ABC is an equilateral. So ABC, this triangle here is equilateral. CE equals DE. Okay. So let's just get rid of that. CE equals ED. So that basically says that this side is the same as that side, and it's represented by these little crosses there. Okay. So it's told me a lot there, which is good. I'm going to need that information. It wants me to work out the size of angle X, which is in the middle. Right. Let's start with triangle ABC. ABC. It's an equilateral. Now, I'm not going to be very good at drawing an equilateral because all sides need to be equal. Okay. This side is the same length as that, the same length as that. Now, the crucial thing about an equilateral, all the sides are the same length, but all the angles are the same length. Okay. Now, or the same size, should I say. Now, we know no matter what, a triangle, the angles inside need to add up to 180. Okay. So if I do 180 and I divide it by 3, that tells me each angle inside of an equilateral will always be 60 degrees. Okay. Now, it's crucial that we know that. Now, it doesn't matter how big the equilateral triangle is. Okay. I could have an equilateral triangle this big, 60 degrees each angle inside. I could have an equilateral triangle as big as my arms that I would be holding. The angles inside would be 60 degrees. So no matter what, guys, remember an equilateral triangle, the angles inside are 60 degrees each angle. Okay. So that's definitely worth a mark. And I've got that written down there. Now what I need to do is work out this angle here, because then it would help me work out X. Now, can you guys remember previously we had a question where I had an isosceles triangle where I said those sides are the same, therefore the base angles are the same. Okay. There and there. Now, if it says 28 degrees at the top, that's something that's crucial. Knowing that, I can work out the rest. So if I do 180 and I take away 28, okay, 180, take away 28, that leaves me with 152 degrees. Now, that 152 degrees needs to be split equally between those two angles because they're the same, okay, they're the same. So we need to divide it equally. We divide it by 2, we half it. 152 divided by 2 is 76. Now, whoops, just so it's nice and clearer, let me just do it a bit better, okay? So I know it's 76. Let me just write that down. I want it to be clear on this diagram. There we go, 76. Now, guys, you should be thinking, hang on a second, Sam. I know what we've got here. We've got a straight line, haven't we? If I know those two, I can then work out what X is in the middle, okay? My little pizza slice in the middle. So if I do 70, add 76. So let me start again. If I do 60, add 76, I get 136. So they're the angles I've got so far. So to work out the missing angle, I need to do 180 and I need to subtract it. So if I do that, I am left with 44 degrees. So X in the middle of those two angles is worth 44. Now, do you know what's a good way to do a quick check? Now, I say this because lots of students finish an exam and they're sat there and they're a bit, They're doing a bit of this. They're looking around, not really knowing what to do. They're waiting for the examiner to say they can leave. What do you know what would be a good check? Add up those three numbers, because what you should get is 180. So 60, add 44, add 76, boom, 180. The maths, it adds up, literally. So I'm going to be confident there that I've got those marks, okay? But guys, there's some angle stuff. So we've got a little bit of angles practice there for you guys, okay? Now, you will be aware that we have done the first 3 lesson aims. We are now going to be left with a variety of exam style questions. I'm going to run this in a similar way that we've been doing this entire lesson. I'm going to give you, let me just check, yeah, I'm going to give you the question. I'm going to get you to pause it. I'll then move on to the next slide. Pause it again, get an answer. Once you've got an answer, unpause the video, move on to the next slide, okay? Once you've got answers for each and every one of them, there's 4 of them, okay? What I'd like you to do, come back and we'll go through them together. Okay, so question 1. Pause the video, get an answer. Okay, hopefully you have an answer now. Question 2. Question 3. Finally, question 4. And I believe that is the last question. Yes, it is. So 4 exam questions, testing a variety of things. Now, let's see if your answers are correct. Coaches take people to a festival. Each coach can take 50 people. From one city, there are 820 people. How many coaches are needed? Now, I'm going to do this without a calculator to show, because this may come up on a non-calculated question, and we need to be prepared for that. We can't always have a reliance on these beautiful little devices here. Okay, we need to have a backup. Now, we are going to use division. We are essentially, what we want to do is do 820. We want to divide it by 50. Now, that's quite a big number. Quite big numbers we're dealing with there. So what we could do to make our life that a little bit easier is to scale it down. Now you'll notice each of these have a 0 on the end. So they both can be divided by 10 to make our life that a little bit easier. So if we divide them by 10, okay, we're essentially cancelling out that 0. So we're going to be left with 82 divided by 5, which hopefully you guys are a lot more comfortable in doing with your bus stop method. Okay, so 5 on the outside, 82 on the inside. Now, I always encourage my students to do the 5 or whatever times table down the side. That way, they don't have to keep thinking about it time and time again as they move across the bus stop. They just have to think about it once, and then they can refer back to it. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Just squeeze that in at the end there. Right, question. How many 5s? Let me change the colour of my pen, so then it stands out a little bit better. How many 5s go into 8? One of them. There is a difference between 5 and 8 of 3. Now I have to think, how many 5s go into 32? Well, 32 on my number line would be there. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. But I have a remainder. Okay, so if I have a remainder, I'm going to have to put in some decimal points. Then have a 0. So the remainder, the difference between 30 and 32 is 2. So 5's into 20, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, how many coaches are needed? Well, if I put 16.4, as much as I'd love to, I can't go into a coach company and say I want 16.4 buses. I need to scale it up. Now, the reason why I don't scale it down is because then there'll be, 0.4 people, okay, would be left out, yeah? So in order to make sure everyone can go on this trip to the festival, I need to round this number up. I need to bump it up to 17 coaches to make sure everyone can get on and get to that festival, okay? But yeah, But if you've done it on a calculator, straight away, you would get 16.4. If you did 820 divided by 50, you would get 16.4. Just remember the context of the question. If you put 16, you're going to have people left over. Not good. You would not get very far as a coach organizer if you left people at the pickup point. Okay? Right, next question. Write 180 grams as a fraction of 3 kilograms. Now, crucial here, one's in grams, one's in kilograms. So what we need to do is make sure we get them both in the same units. Now, I'm going to put them both in terms of grams, because if I put them both in terms of kilograms, we'll get decimals, and decimals gets messy. Let's try and keep our numbers whole. So 180 grams is fine. Now, 3 kilograms is 3,000 grams. Okay? Now, we've got lots of zeros. We've got a 0 top and a 0 bottom. So what I'm going to do, we're going to cancel it down straight away. We're going to divide by 10. When you divide by 10, you're essentially cancelling out those zeros. So we're going to be left with 18 over 300. Now what I need to do is think, well, anything of a number that goes into both 18 and 300. Now, I know the number 3 goes into both. So I'm going to divide top and bottom by 3. Okay? That's going to give me 6 over 100. Okay? Now I'm thinking, they're both even. If they're both even, that means they can both be divided by 2. Okay, they can both be halved. That gives me 3 over 50. Okay? So now if I think here, does a number go into both 3 and 50? Does a number go into, well, 3 is a prime number. So there's only 2 numbers that go into 3, that's 1 and 3. 3 doesn't go into 50, so it can't get any lower. 3 over 50. Now, I'm going to teach you a little trick here on a calculator, okay? There's a fraction button on a calculator. So if you get to this point, let me write it out again. That's how I would do it without a calculator, okay? I'd break it down, get to as low as I can go. On a calculator, you can put in 180 over 3,000. You can type it in as a fraction. So there is a fraction button. 180 over 3,000. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on my screen, but I've written as a fraction. If you press equals, it will simplify it for you instantly into 3 over 50. So on a calculator paper, type it in, press equals, you're there. On a non-calculator paper, you need to divide by a number that goes into both as low as you can go, okay? Until you arrive at a point where you think it can't get any lower, okay? Right. Anna plays a computer game. Each game is a win or a loss. She wins 3/4 of her first 24 games. She then wins her next 12 games. For all 36 games, work out the ratio of wins to losses. Give your answer in its simplest form. Now, there's a lot going on here. There is a lot going on. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say this is a short question. It takes a bit of time. So let's look at it. Let's look at it slowly. Anna plays a computer game. Each game is a win or a loss. She wins 3/4 of her first 24 games. So 3/4, 3 over 4 of 24. Okay? Right. Let's look at this then. So 3/4 of 24. What is 3/4 of 24? Remember the golden rule. Divide by the bottom times by the top. Okay? So 24 divided by 4 is 6. 6 times by 3 is 18. So she wins 18 out of the first 24 games. Okay, so I'm going to put this as a ratio because the answer needs to be as a ratio. So let's do this. Let's put it as a ratio first. So 18 wins. Let's put wins, losses. So that means she must have lost 6. If she played 24 games, she won 18, she must have lost 6. She then wins her next 12 games. Geez, okay, she's good. So she wins her next 12. So plus 12. So that means she's on 30 wins to 6 losses now. Okay? For all 36 games, all right, yeah, that's good. All right, I'm in a good place here because for all 36, and I know those two numbers there add together to give 36, so that's good. Work out the ratio of wins to losses. Give your answer in its simplest form. Okay. Right. So I need to simplify this ratio. Let's simplify. I'm going to highlight it so you know what ratio I'm on about. Right. I need to think of a number that goes into both 30 and 6. It's changed to purple. Right. Well, I know 6 goes into 30 and I know 6 goes into 6. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6. 30 divided by 6 is 5. How many 6s go into 6? 1. That ratio can't get any smaller. So I've butchered that, haven't I, with the little circle there. So I know my final answer for the simplest form is 5 to 1. So once again, guys, there is a fair bit going on. Let me just circle that. There we go. We needed to work out a fraction of an amount. That would be worth 1 mark. We then need to consider her winning the next 12 games, which is there, which then gives me this ratio 30 to 6. And then finally I have to simplify. I believe that to be about a 3-mark question. A lot going on, 3 different things to look at, to do, to calculate. But if you guys can work out some of those things along the way, you are picking up marks, and that's a really good position to be in. The last question that you guys needed to calculate, and I am going to use a calculator here. Don't judge me, I'm going to take my time. Family uses 300 units of gas. Each unit of gas costs 19p without VAT. VAT of 5% is added to the bill. Work out the total gas bill. So let's work out the total amount without the VAT. So 300 units, 19p each. So 300 times by 19 is 5,700p. Okay, 300 times 19p, 5,700p. I'm going to put a little time symbol there. VAT of 5% is added. So I need to work out 5% and then add it on. Okay, so 10%. Let's do it in a different colour. That's 1 mark. I'm pretty confident that would be worth 1 mark. Let's work out 10%. So once again, 10% will be moving decimal point 1 place across. So 10% is 570p. Okay, now 5% is going to be half of that, isn't it? So I need to divide it by 2. I need to cut it in half. So divide by 2. 570 divided by 2 is 285p. 285p. Okay. Now, crucial here is added to the bill. So this is the VAT. The 5% needs to be added on to the bill. That was the original bill. So what we need to do is 5,700 and add on 285p. Now let's try and do it in the bottom corner. So 5,985p. Okay, now if you want to, now the thing is, I would say leave your answer as that, because in the exam or in the question it doesn't say give your answer in pounds. Okay, it just says work out total gas. Well, technically that's right. However, if we want to make it a bit more real life, okay, that you're not going to give someone a bill of 5,985p. That might confuse them a bit, and you might not get paid the right amount. Right, there are 100 pennies in £1. So if I take 5,985p and I divide it by 100, okay, it gives me my answer in pounds. So 5,985p divided by 100 gives me £59.85. So if you've got that as your answer, extra well done. You've been able to convert all those pennies into a pounds. And like to say, in real life, that is something much more likely you would expect to receive on a bill. Never in my life have I ever had to pay for food or the bill or anything or rent in pennies. It's always been pound symbols in there, unfortunately. It's never been so cheap as to be just pennies. Okay, but there's the final answer. Now, hopefully, guys, you've got through this lesson quite nicely and you've enjoyed it along the way. Like I say, it's definitely a different experience for me teaching, telling you guys to pause the video here and there, but hopefully you found it beneficial. And like I say, the aim of the game for me today was for you to leave the lesson feeling like that guy in the corner, feeling slightly happier. Okay, now if we've achieved that, excellent. Don't worry if there's things along the way that you've struggled with, because don't worry, your teachers will support you throughout this year to make sure you master it and you're happy with it. Okay, but what we'll do, we'll call it a lesson there. You guys get some rest, have a break, get a snack, get a drink. Okay, and I'll see my students in college. I'll see you in class, and anyone else, I'll see you around college. Feel free to say hi, let me know how this lesson went, and I'll see you all soon. But guys, enjoy the rest of your day and take care.